What's up, bikers? Episode 209. Still going with hitches at the beginning of show. You never know what's technically going to happen whenever you start one of these shows. That's the beauty of the internet. It's dicey. Anyways, I appreciate all of you that have decided to tune into this episode today. We have Sebastian from Nrml Mountain Biker, Nrml Mtber, Normal. Some people call him Seabass. Some people call him Sebastian. I think you guys knew who I'm talking about. And if you don't, you will by the end of the episode. Anyways, before we get started, though, I do want to real quick talk about some channel sponsors. So if you guys are, if you've been in the loop, if you've been around the podcast for a while, you know I've been riding RE bikes for the last year. And I like to kind of highlight some different things instead of just talking about their bikes. And right now, what I'd like to mention is that they have a transferable warranty. So this only started when they changed their name to RE. So if you had a Fazari, it's not the same. But once they changed their name to RE, basically, when you go to sell the bike, you can transfer the warranty to somebody else. And if I remember correctly, I think the warranty that you transfer is only good for a year. It's probably written on the screen there somewhere. You can go to the website and check it out. But I think the thing that's really awesome about this is I've sold a bunch of bikes, and a lot of times the thing that the person that's buying is worried about is like, oh, maybe there's some crack in the carbon frame that I don't know about, and I'm not going to be able to warranty it if it breaks in half. And this will take care of that. So you can let the person rest assured that, hey, even if there was something that we can't even see right now, if it breaks, you still have a warranty for a year. So I think that would really help with your resale value. So I think that's worth mentioning. If you're considering a new bike, definitely check out Ari's website, aribikes.com. Aside from that, been wearing the Tasco stuff for years before I even was having a partnership with them. And right now they have this small batch out. It's called Panic. It's got the kind of a multicolored glove and socks. You can even get ODI grips that match it. And they have a mullet jersey that does it as well. So you can have red on one side or the multicolored pattern on the other side. I am really digging the mullet jerseys this year. Honestly, I think that's super sick that Nate came out with it. It's like getting two jerseys for the price of one. So swing by tascostoke.com, use code B1KER, save a little money. Last but not least is Cali. I've been wearing the Cali helmets since basically I started the channel and really fell in love with the company. Brad, the founder, is just really has a higher level of you can tell that safety's in his mind first and making money a second. So the Interceptor is a helmet that I never really wore before this year, but this really rad black and white pattern with the blue straps came out, and I've just because it's so loud and funky, it's been calling me lately. So if you're a large, extra large, you can still pick one of these up. Otherwise, swing by their site and caliprotectives.com and find something else there. Either way, it's definitely top-notch stuff. I've broken a handful of helmets. I've definitely had my life saved by them plenty of times. And if you break your helmet, they'll actually replace it for free. Either way, caliprotectives.com, use code B1Cali30, save yourself 30%. Apparently, a lot of people did last year, and you can be one of them too this year. Last but not least, this is the real last but not least. A couple of weeks ago, I had a nonprofit on the show called Disconnect to Reconnect. And what that nonprofit does is try to get vets out to do things outside to help their mental health, because there's definitely a big problem with veterans committing suicide because of PTSD or other problems, and it's sad. It's really sad. And so what he's doing is trying to promote people to get outside, or veterans to get outside and do things. And one of the activities that they do through his fundraiser is mountain biking. Although he does like skiing and surfing and hiking and fishing and all kinds of other things, mountain bike's one of them, and that's the part that I've been involved with the most. And we've been starting to do monthly second Saturday rides every month. And it would be awesome if we could raise some money for his nonprofit to actually have a fleet of mountain bikes. One in each size is what we're basically trying to do. So roughly around $25,000 is what we're thinking to try to do. So if you would like to make a one-time donation, do that. If you want to set up at $5 a month, you can do that on the website as well. The link's down there and show more, or the the show description. And honestly, this is something that I really feel passionate about. That's why I'm putting a lot of my own time into it. And I would really love to see the support come from the biker community as well. So there you go. Go swing by the site. It's d2rvets.com. And also, link is in the description. Let's get on with the show, man. I bet you guys are tired of hearing me ramble about this stuff. What's up, Sebastian?
What's up? It is good to be back, my guy. How you been?
Dude, I looked, and the last show, even though we've hung out a handful of times, like the last show that we did together was like November of 23, which just, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago.
It's amazing how time flies, right?
Dude, it's silly, man. It really is. It's just like, I don't even know, man. I don't even know where it goes, to tell you the truth.
Well, I gotta say, every time I see you, whether it's like we're doing like a ride or a dig day or something, like every time you're like 30 pounds less than the last time I saw you.
I wish that was the case, man. I don't feel like that is the case, but you probably just missed me in between whenever I gained all the weight back.
Maybe. I mean, dude, the last time I saw you, what was that, like 3 weeks ago now? 2 weeks ago, maybe? I was like, wait, that's him? Like, what?
That's awesome, dude.
I couldn't believe it, dude. You're crushing it, man.
Dude, but, it's so hard to see that for yourself, whenever you're the guy looking in the mirror. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. It's crazy, man. Yeah, I've been trying to get on the game as well, man. Like we've been doing. I got a gym membership for the first time in like years. Like I've been doing that for like maybe 4 months now. Doing like a regular gym membership, like cutting out on a whole bunch of garbage, like, trying to, specifically minimize the amount of like seed oils, right? The whole, everyone's scared about seed oils nowadays. And, just in general, just trying to have like an actual workout routine, deficit in calories and whatnot. I know the last time we hung out, I definitely did not do a deficit in calories. It was like freaking chicken wings and burgers and stuff.
I'm pretty sure that. Yeah, I was on like a little like vacation hiatus when last time we hung out, so I definitely was like smashing beers and eating fucking fried food and shit. Dude, I always tell everybody it is fun getting fat, but man, it sucks trying to get skinny.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. One thing that I noticed like helps out a lot is like the boozing, like cutting out on the boozing. Oh my Lord. Wow. Like I've been like booze. I haven't had a single drop of alcohol since almost the beginning of the year. So about a month now. And I mean it's been great. I've done it before. I've done the whole sobriety thing for like the longest I was ever sober. This is gonna sound really bad, but the longest I was ever sober in my adult years was probably like 6 months. And that was a couple years ago. I just like nothing whatsoever. And I don't do the whole, any like if I'm going to do something that takes me out of this, sober state of mind, it's going to be, it's going to be alcohol. I don't do anything else, but but yeah, man, it's been nice like allowing my liver to recover.
Yeah. I just had the same conversation with Tony from the Outsider MTB last week, and I do it from time to time. I just like decide, I'm like, dude, I need a little break, and it's not like I feel like my life is out of control or anything. I just feel like it's a good reset for your body, man.
Oh, it totally is. And it's amazing how fast your body comes back from it too. At least speaking for myself, like within, you don't realize, like, especially if you let it get a little bit out of hand. Like I'm not an alcoholic or anything like that, but especially during the holiday seasons, it's like, sure, I'll have a couple drinks today, whatever. Right? And it just spirals out into the whole, like, you start getting the shakes and you're like, oh crap, like I should do something. I'm joking. It didn't get that bad for me, but it got to the point where my body was like, yo, I could hear it telling me, like every night I go to sleep and like my insides were hurting. And I was like, oh, this is not good. Like, I got to do something about that. And
it's like, I don't know. Like I've been telling, because I've been doing a weekly show about my weight loss just to kind of try to keep myself accountable. And I've been telling people that I have a cruise I'm going on in a couple of weeks, and I'm like, this year I didn't really go into the mindset of like, I'm not drinking, I'm quitting drinking until I go on the cruise. I've just been like, I'm going to try not to drink. And if something really good comes up, then like, it is what it is. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't drank since basically the new year or two. I mean, I think it was like I don't know. I think it was like the first week of January or something like that,
Hmm.
because I was still on like vacation through the week of whenever it was New Year's, you know.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, yeah, I mean, it feels good, dude. It's definitely an easy way to cut out some calories. Do you think that like, do you have a goal in mind where you're trying to get?
What what's that guy Chris Hemsworth? He's like an actor, right? The dude that does
Yeah, yeah, he was a real big dude for a while.
yeah. Wherever he's at right now, that's the goal.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking like full on like packs, like six pack, boom, 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 like totally toned muscles, the whole nine yards, man. I'm getting there. Because
Yeah.
because the thing is that like if you were
Oh,
to
that's not the
you
guy I
know
was thinking of. That's the dude that plays like Thor and stuff, right?
yeah, he's like
Yeah,
Australian,
yeah.
I
I
think.
was thinking of that dude that was like, there's an actor that was in like Varsity Blues and some other stuff. He used to be like really big, and he's like fucking pretty ripped now. He's a big guy though, like super tall, like sort of like you, like 6'4", 6'5", something like that.
Mm.
But he was like always like, that was the guy that he always. Somebody in the chat, if you know who I'm talking about, throw it up there, and then I can say it. But yeah.
Yeah,
Anyways,
I don't
that
know who
dude.
this.
Yeah, I can't think of his name, or like I can't think of anything that he was in like right off the top of my head. For some reason, Varsity Blues was the only one that came to mind. That
Okay.
is like it was like a football movie from like way back in the day, but I don't think that's gonna be. um Oh man, here I am just trying to freaking pan through it.
Dude, you
But
could tell me exactly who it is, and I would have no clue. I don't know anything about like actors and stuff like that. Like I've seen a
yeah,
few
I'm bad at that
movies, but
too.
I never got into it.
Yeah, yeah, I would send you a link. That's what I would do. So,
There we go.
anyways, yeah, no. So you want to get totally ripped, huh?
That's kind of the idea. I mean, who doesn't want to get totally ripped, right? So,
Yeah.
I'm just under the impression that if I set my standards super high, like
Mhm.
it's obviously going to be a lot more of a challenge, but I have a better chance of getting closer. It's like like if you're not going to set goals that are super high, then why set goals at all, right? And
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
kind of been that's probably super toxic of a way of thinking, but I mean, it's worked for me in my life, and I've never really set out on anything that's like this transformative for myself. I mean, obviously we have all of the things that happen in our life that kind of shape who we are as a person, but well, this is something that I need to do for myself, right? And I think everyone can agree with that, and I'm sure you have obviously some experience in this. It's easy to start something, be super super motivated to like lose weight. You lose a bunch of weight, and then it's like, oh, okay, I'm comfortable where I am, and then you start to back out, and then it's like 20 pounds added on later, it's you're back at square one, right? So that's kind
yeah,
of the main thing, right? Where I'm not going to be easy on myself this time around. It's going to be like full discipline, full David Goggins, like
yeah,
no easy way out of this one. So yeah, I'm not going to go take that Ozempic stuff or anything like that too. Like there's no way,
yeah. I'm
dude.
not into that, man. Like, you know how it is. If you do anything online, like all of a sudden you have like a billion freaking doctors that are in the comments,
Yeah,
or at least people that think they're doctors.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and so going through posting my whole like weight loss thing online, I've had a bunch of people tell me about, you should do that. And I just personally, like, I'm not, I'm just not keen on like taking some drug like that. I just feel
Hmm.
like, what do you know? Like, what do you really know that's really doing to you? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
seems
Well,
like it just seems like there's too much like risk there for like the reward of losing weight, where you could lose weight just by actually like bettering the way that you live. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. No, dude, for sure. And I mean, you hear, I'm not going to insinuate anything from that brand
Yeah,
in
yeah,
particular, right? But I know that like you hear stories of people will take like all these kinds of medications, and then all of a sudden they have like five or six new illnesses that they never had before, and then you're like,
yeah,
where did this come out of?
yeah,
Um, so it's interesting, right? And but at the end of the day, like obviously it's going to help a lot of people, but for me it's not so much of like chemically how does this work, like chemically, biologically, will this help me out? It's like Probably, yeah. Obviously, if they were able to, pass whatever, government testing they
Right,
have,
right.
but for me, it's more of a mental thing, right? For me, this is a training activity. This is a point in time where I can grow, right? If I
Yeah,
just go and take a pill and become skinny and fit, it's not going to mean anything to me. I didn't put any
right.
work to get there, right? So that's
Yeah,
that's the part that I'm really looking for. That's the main benefit for to me out of it. Yes, I'm going to be skinnier. I'm going to be, more muscular, more toned. Maybe the ladies are going to be a lot more happy to be around me then at that point, right? But the whole thing for me is I want to grow myself as a person inside, not outside, if that makes
yeah,
sense, right? So
yeah,
that's really my payout for it.
yeah. I can tell you this right now. I've done the full, like, what I call the Nazi diet, which it sounds like you're calling the David Goggins version.
Mm.
Um, and I think what I've been doing for the last year is actually going to be the most long-term successful way about it. And that's like being very consistent and being like realistic with yourself as far as like, is this actually like a sustainable lifestyle that I could live for the rest of my life? And if it takes me 2 years to lose the weight that I know, like if I went David Goggins on it, I could do it in like 3 to 6 months.
Mm.
Like if
Hmm.
it's 2 years, but like actually like I've changed myself,
Hmm.
I don't feel like every time that I've done it where the Goggins style, I always end up gaining it back. And maybe it's in a couple of years I gain it back, maybe it's in a couple of months, but I always end up gaining it back. And I think it's because I do this thing where I'm like focused on my goal, right? And I'm like super goal oriented, like sounds like you are. And then I have this mindset of like once I get there, then I can like be whatever the fuck I want to be then again.
Hmm. Hmm.
And like the reality of it is that like that's not the case. Like if you go back to like doing whatever you were doing in some manner, you're going to get back to the way you were when you started, no matter what,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But
But one thing, if I can interject there, one thing that you also have to give yourself credit for and kind of factor this part into it is that like there's a literal chemical reaction that your brain has when you eat certain types of foods.
mhm.
So if there was like I know that you're a connoisseur of the chicken wings, right? Like I
Yeah, I
love
love
chicken
the
wings as
chicken
well.
wings.
I love chicken wings, right? So it's like, like there really is that comfort side of it, right? And who doesn't
Mhm.
want comfort? It doesn't matter if you're 4 years old or 50 years old. Like you're gonna be, you're always gonna want to seek that comfort and that alleviation to the external problems we all face in our lives. And on top of that, you also have all the chemicals that are in food that are designed to make the chemicals in our brain go crazy, right?
Yeah,
To become
yeah,
addicted to this food, right? So it's really hard, especially in today's world, to go from having a diet of like, I'm not saying this is what you were doing, but like for someone, let's say that their diet was, they would go to McDonald's in the morning and have the breakfast from there, and then at lunch they went to Taco Bell, and then at dinner they went and got a burger from somewhere else, right? And it's like
yeah,
they
yeah,
they consumed like 2,000 different types of chemicals in like
yeah,
one day. And it's like,
yeah,
how's your brain area? So of course it's really hard for people to get off of food because so much food nowadays is literally just a drug, which is like the
yeah,
the wildest part about it. And especially with sugar too. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen those studies where they had the lab rats, the mice in the lab. They put them in cages, and then there's multiple studies about this, but this is just an example. They put them in the cages, and they had them. They basically gave them cocaine for a certain period of time, and then gave them sugar for a certain period of time, and then figured out how to get have them choose which one they wanted, and 9 out of 10 times the rats went to sugar instead of the cocaine. So it's
damn.
like, what does that say? Like, why is sugar in literally everything? Why are seed oils in literally everything? Why is there dextrose in potato chips? Like, what is it? Like, why is this happening? And it's a
Yeah,
modern thing too. Like, this wasn't something that was happening in the 1940s and 50s and 60s. This is like the 80s onward. This all started
yeah,
happening. So it's like, and then you
yeah,
look at the charts of people and the overweight problem that we have, at least in America here, and it's all starts around the 80s and 90s, right when all these crazy chemicals were introduced into our food, and all of a sudden just skyrockets. Obesity goes absolutely
yeah,
bonkers. People aren't as healthy as they used to be. Cancer rates are going through the roof. It's pretty
yeah. It's
wild,
all
right?
kinds of stuff too, like
Yeah.
different things where you see like like ADHD and autism like going way up, and yeah,
Mhm.
there's something going on for sure. It's easy
Yeah.
to like connect dots, and I'm definitely not an expert, but
No, I'm not at
yeah,
all.
yeah. I
don't
watched
don't take my advice as medical advice at all. Like
right, right, exactly. Yeah, I watched this reel the other day, and I meant to like to look it up. Usually, like if I see something that's real, kind of like, oh, that's interesting. I like to like fact check it.
Mm,
But it was saying that the um the average caloric intake, like back in the 60s, for like what they like now they say like 2,000 calories is a good average diet, right?
yeah.
Like back in the 50s or something like that. I think it was the 50s. They were saying that they actually recommended people like 3,500 calories a day. But back then there was like not as much processed foods,
Yeah.
and it was like people were actually just eating better food. And it's
Yeah.
crazy. And but on top of that, people were also like way skinnier than they are now.
Yeah, yeah, way skinnier, and they did more physical things too. Like
Yeah,
they didn't have the Toyota Tacoma sitting in the front yard. Like
yeah,
they had to walk to school, they had to walk to work, whatever it might have been, you know. So they were doing more things. You know,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
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 it's
it's
interesting,
amazing.
man.
It's
Well, I can tell
crazy.
you that going to the gym is awesome and great, and I'm stoked that you're doing that. That definitely helps. That
Mhm,
lean muscle mass helps burn fat, but like 90% of losing weight is all about what you eat.
mhm. Yeah,
So
absolutely, absolutely.
it it's crazy. I mean, you could like literally lose whatever amount of weight that you want to lose in a week just by what you're eating and
Yeah,
not doing any exercise at all. So,
yeah, yeah.
what are you using for resources? You just like looking stuff up, or you got like you're going to see a trainer or anything like that?
No, I haven't man, resources. I mean nothing beyond, you know, the easily available stuff to everybody. You know,
Yeah.
it's I've never really done a trainer or anything like that.
Hmm.
It's tough. One of the main reasons why I don't have like an actual, you know, dedicated schedule like to something like that is because we're so busy so constantly, and our schedule is constantly changing, so it's really hard to lock down that okay, I'm going to go to the gym at 4:30 every single day. I just it's not feasible, you know, because meetings pop up, this pops up,
Yeah,
you know, we
yeah,
have to go do this, right? So, oh, the weather's bad tomorrow. We got to go out and we got to film today, you know, because we don't have
yeah,
any
yeah.
chance tomorrow, right? So it's really hard to do that. I just try to keep track of it all on my own, and that's kind of
Mhm.
down to my own self accountability part, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, no. I mean, one day I'd like to do like an actual, you know, like course with people, like a class where I go with like some maybe not a bodybuilder, but someone who knows what they're talking about and is like, hey, if you want to get those muscles to look like this on your arm, I need you to do this workout. You know,
Yeah.
I'd love to do that one day. But right now, my main goal is just like, you know, cut the weight down. It's going to make everything way easier. You know, biking is going to be amazing.
Hmm.
You know, once I cut some weight down, like that's just the big thing. And I know we can go into that later too, but yeah, man, I'm just trying to stick to a personal schedule right now, and
Yeah.
one achievement at a time, right?
Yeah. I can tell you, man, I can't stress it enough about what you eat. Like if you
Yeah,
were to go and see maybe a nutritionist that could like give you some really good ideas of like what kind of things that you could cook and what you could eat and like how
yeah,
to like prepare stuff.
yeah.
I'd say over the years, that's the thing that's made me the most successful is like
Hmm. Hmm.
whenever I decide that like, hey, I want to lose weight or whatever, like actually
Yeah,
knowing what to cook and like how to cook it, or like
yeah,
not have just like your life be fucking boring with like shit that's bland because you're like, oh, this is the only way that I can count a calorie. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and and once you kind of like really have a good foundation that way, it definitely opens up a lot of doors for you. And honestly, like as long as you're staying pretty active, I mean, you can get away with eating a lot of food if it's like good food.
yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. One of the things, I mean, as far as like what I'm doing personally, the I'm doing a big cutout of like grains, wheats, breads, you know, stuff like
Mhm.
that, right? That I mean, you know, like I said, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a nutritionist, but everything that I see from people who have done just incredible things with their body, like almost all of them are going to say like don't eat any kind of breads, don't eat any kind of like pastas, nothing like that. It's
Yeah.
usually an increase in protein.
Hmm.
That's another big thing. Like I've been doing a lot of like animal proteins.
Hmm.
That's been a huge thing because it's like, it satiates you so you don't feel like you're, still
Yeah. Yeah.
hungry afterwards. I've never been a big vegetable guy. I actually used to be vegan. I think I talked to you about that. So I used to be super far into the veggie game, but
Yeah.
that was a horrendous idea. I don't suggest anybody go vegan. Like that was terrible. That was one of the worst decisions I ever made. I mean, obviously everyone's body's different. Like everyone's body's different, but
Yeah. Yeah.
veganism what is only a result of third world nations that don't have enough money or resources to farm animals. So like, yeah, can your body survive on it? Sure, of course. Your body can survive a lot of things, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily good for it. So,
Right.
like,
Right.
I definitely don't recommend from a personal experience. Like, veganism is absolutely
Yeah.
asinine. I would not recommend that. But yeah, man, I feel really good when I have like animal products, like straight up like meat, whether it's like steaks or I just do ground beef on the stove top. Cook it up, some salt. It is
Mhm.
good salt as well. It's not just like you go the whatever off the
Yeah. Yeah.
shelf at Safeway. I'm like getting the nice you know it's all tested stuff, for like
Right.
heavy metals and stuff like that. I'm a bit of a hippie for anybody who doesn't know. Like I'm such a hippie. Like I won't even take like ibuprofen if I have pain somewhere. Like I
Yeah.
don't take anything that's weird, like any kind of chemicals that are beyond the standard stuff that you'd find in nature.
Yeah.
Unless I absolutely have to. Like unless I absolutely have to, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like a lot of meats. I'll have a lot of fiber through fruit. So I don't necessarily eat vegetables, but I love fruits. So we've always got like bananas, apples, all you name it. We've got stuff always coming through depending on what's in season right now, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, in general, that's kind of like that's the goal of being able to eat like that every day. Because although I attempt to do a diet like that every single day. Obviously, there's days where it's like, okay, we're out and about. Let's go grab a sandwich or something. Let's
Yeah. Yeah.
screw it. Let's go to Chipotle real quick. Grab a burrito or something. We only got like
Yeah, it's
10
not
minutes to grab some
necessarily
food.
bad to go to Chipotle. I mean, it
Yeah,
depends
yeah,
on what you're getting, to be honest. Like you can
yeah.
make good decisions there too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But one thing actually, for the audience that's really, really helped me out too, that like literally changed the game for me is when it comes down to hydration, like I never really took hydration that seriously until recently because it really changed my life. I started like first thing in the morning, I drink like a big glass of electrolytes. So
Hmm.
there's a company called it's called like Real Salt, I think.
Hmm.
I forgot the subsidiary company of it, but it's basically like there's this powder, this like electrolyte powder you can get on Amazon or whatever, and comes with a little scooper, and you put a little scoop into your water and fill it with water, and just drink that. Like if I do that first thing in the morning and then chug another glass of water, like holy, my brain works just so much better. I'm so much
Yeah.
more focused. Everything's clear. You don't realize how much brain fog you have until you are fully hydrated first thing in the morning. Like the moment you wake up, like I go
Yeah.
downstairs and do this immediately. Like that's the first thing I do every morning. And I haven't had like when you go on a long ride, right? And like you're just sweating so much, and then you get that like after ride headache, right? Because it's like you just sweated so much, you feel terrible. It's like, oh man, like you feel nauseous. Like I haven't felt that in about a year because I've been doing this
Yeah.
every single day. Like,
Yeah. I
yeah,
do something similar. I take BCAs, which is also like that, and it has electrolytes in it as well. I also mix
yeah.
it with greens. I don't buy the AG1 stuff. I just think it's too expensive, but
Mm,
there's some other like off brands that you can get at like Amazon. And
nice.
so I'll take like the water. It's basically like, I don't know, let's just call it like 20 ounces of water. The greens, the BCAs have 0 calories in it, and then I put creatine and glutamine in it, and I start
Yeah.
my day like that. And it's the same thing as what you're saying. It's like you definitely
Hmm.
feel way better like being hydrated. And that I definitely cramp on rides a lot because I'm one of those like heavy sweaters.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And the element stuff works really good for that, for at least for me. And I think that was something that I always thought to myself, that it was like I needed more salt. But once I started using that element, it was like, man, this is just like solved my problems.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah. The element stuff. If anyone's listening that has a connection to that company, hit me up, dude. Oh my God, I would
yeah,
love to.
I tried to reach out to them to see if I could get them to like sponsor something, or even just to like kind of, you know, like build a relationship with them. And
Yeah.
I got nowhere. So I mean, you have a big enough number. I feel like you could send an email and they'd respond to you.
I haven't even tried yet. I'm gonna look into it and see if we can make something happen. Because dude, any chance I can, if I'm at the grocery store somewhere, I will.
Yeah,
If there's an element, I usually do the ones that are in the can already ready to go. You don't, not the one you mix in.
yeah,
Like, dude, I love the idea of a sparkly like electrolyte drink. Like, I don't know
yeah,
what it is. It's so gnarly, but so amazing at the same time. You just drink it, you're just like, oh yes, like
yeah.
yes, like I can
Yeah, I
feel
usually mix
myself
like,
coming to life.
yeah, I usually just mix one bottle that I carry with me,
Hmm.
and then like then I'll have my normal like hip pack hydration water or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, just to kind of add in there. So it's definitely been, I've been like super impressed with that product. I've tried a lot of different products over the years that were supposed to like help you keep from cramping while you're
Mm.
riding. And
Hmm.
that's truly the only one that I've really felt the most gain out of. Or even
Yeah.
like post ride, where I'm like, man, I'm like starting to cramp, and I'll just go and usually I'll mix the element with another scoop of greens, because the greens is just basically a bunch of fucking vegetables, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's not going to hurt to get more vitamins, right? So I usually just mix the green, another scoop of greens with the element, and it'll be like, yep, cramps are gone. You
Yeah.
know, it's
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
It's amazing, dude.
So,
Science, like for as dumb of a person that I am when it comes to science, I actually am very fascinated by it. So it's
yeah,
amazing, dude. It's amazing how the body works, and we're in such a good time right now in human history to where
yeah,
we obviously don't know everything, but we're at that point where maybe in our life we're gonna see the point where there's no more illness, where we have a solution to most main issues that humans face. Assuming the
yeah,
big corporations let that happen, who knows?
right, yeah.
The
Or
big
the AI
corporations
takes
that
over
massively
and
profit.
Or AI takes over and Terminator becomes like the a true story.
Yeah, that's far more likely to happen first, but I don't know. Have you been using any of those AI programs yet? I know we were kind of talking about this.
You know, a while back you talked to me about one to make clips,
Hmm.
and I like just let it like roll around the back of my head for a while, and then it was maybe a couple of months ago where I was like, I'm finally gonna like try it, you know. And I tried a couple of them, and I just didn't really like, it wasn't what I wanted
Hmm.
exactly.
Hmm.
But I thought the one thing that I did like about it though was that it would just like go through, and maybe it would look at your podcast or whatever, and it would pull out some moments where it thought it was good.
Hmm.
What I kind of came out of it with in my mind was, I could use this to then give me the clip that I'm gonna actually like edit to the way that I want it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it did the legwork for me as far as
Yes.
like finding a good spot, but
Hmm.
I just didn't like the way that maybe the like, oh, I'd rather this zoom in this way, and I'd rather something fly in from the right and say
Yeah.
this, or, you know what I mean? Like
I know
as an
exactly what you mean.
editor,
Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
of like, just like, oh, that's great, publish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. What's amazing about it is that, like, obviously, it's not going to do exactly what you want it to do, right?
right,
But so you need to have some creativity with it, right? You need to like exactly what you said. It did the legwork for me. Now I can use its algorithm, for myself to create exactly what it is that I'm looking for.
right,
But the thing is, maybe in like a year or two, it's going to get so good that
yeah,
you won't even need to do that. You can literally
yeah,
just tell it, I want this, 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 and this, and then boom, it's already edited for you in 10 seconds. You're done, ready to go.
yeah. The other thing too that like was a downer was all of the ones that I looked at, their pricing didn't really work for a podcast of my podcast length. So what I would have to do to stay within like the boundaries of what their pricing model would do, that's like feasible, you
Mm-hmm.
know, it would be like, okay, well, I need to like cut the beginning and the end of my podcast off, which is probably easy to do because like, okay, there's maybe not clips in that I would want anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even at that, it still would be like I wouldn't be able to edit every podcast that I have for a whole year on that plan. So, and then it was like, let's just say that plan was, we'll call it $100 a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it may have been less than that, but in my mind, it was like, okay, well, would that be worth it to me for $100 a month if every week I had, 3 shorts that I could put out that were already edited?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, for $100 a month, yeah, that would be worth it. But okay, well, I can actually only do like 40 weeks of shows before that like because they sell it to you in like time credits, kind of,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and the next jump would be like $1,500 a month to be able to like, it was like this ridiculous amount, and
Yeah.
it was like, why don't they have a pricing model that's I don't know, maybe more in line with how long podcasts are,
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a money grab right now, to be totally honest with you. Like,
Yeah,
so much of it, like there's a lot of the digital asset world is such a money grab, such a pyramid scheme type thing, you know.
yeah,
Like, you got the whole AI world, which I don't know if you saw recently. There was that one AI company that kind of came out of nowhere in China and just destroyed the stock market for like a
yeah. I
day.
watched that the other day. Yeah,
Yeah. Like, they're just like, yeah, we could do this way better, and it costs like nothing to do. Like, it's super fascinating. And then you have the whole crypto world with the whole meme coin thing right now. Like, holy moly!
right.
I don't know. Have you looked into that? Dude.
Dude, crypto, that's like a
Oh,
rabbit hole that I don't really want to go down because I know my personality, and my personality loves rabbit holes. You
yeah.
know?
Dude, that's a bad rabbit hole. It is straight up
Yeah,
it's degenerate gambling. Like, I've been in crypto for many years, like never really seriously. It was mostly just kind of like an investment thing. Like, here, I'll just put my money in crypto so that it doesn't, deteriorate with inflation in the bank, right? But I recently started taking it a little more seriously. And back when the like, not I'm not trying to talk about politics here, but back when the inauguration happened, a couple days prior, Trump had one of his coins drop, like the Trump coin dropped, and it
hmm,
was considered a meme coin, right? And man, that was a wild ride. I jumped on the train, man. I was there. I was there trying, I was trying to invest money into it, and like, I had never seen anything like that in my life before. The volume of people that were buying into this coin at the time that they did was bonkers. It was so many people that the programs that I was using, the wallet programs that I have, like, where I can trade crypto, be it, buy,
yeah,
trade,
yeah.
whatever. They were literally crashing out,
Wow.
completely crashing out. And this is meanwhile, the coin, started off at like under $1, and within the first like 24 hours, it went to like, I think it was like $60 within the first 24 hours. So if you, like, theoretically, if you had put in like $1,000 back when it first dropped, that $1,000 would be worth, like, I don't know, like 70, $80,000, who knows, right? So it's like,
Jesus.
the
Crazy.
amount of it's mind-blowing. It's literally degenerate gambling. It's the craziest
Yeah.
thing, but I'm so addicted to it. I'm just sitting there, like, I've got notifications on my phone every time some new coin drops. I follow every single major corporation, like, on Twitter or whatever,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
see if they, because everyone, the whole thing now is, um you're going to be like, if you're a person in the public that's like super trendy, or if you're a company, or if you're this, that some kind of entity out in the world that's significant in pop culture, you're going to be making these coins that are your own meme coin, and they're going to be used as a fundraising thing, like, as a fundraiser, essentially, right? So,
Right.
like, it's so wild, dude. And we're just at the beginning of it too, which is the craziest part. Like, like, this
Do you
year you're
think
gonna see, like, this year's gonna be crazy.
do you think the Hawk Tua girl was doing a rug pull?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna say 100%. That's just my own belief, but, like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I, I strongly think it is. Like,
Yeah.
like, the
I personally
reality.
don't. I personally don't think that she actually was like the
Mhm.
person doing it. I think it's
Yeah.
like the people that were representing her,
Yes. Yeah.
but
That's usually
I
what it
think
is.
that she probably just didn't like. My assumption is some crypto company came to her, let's just say it, and was like, "Hey, we can like make you a bunch of money by like starting this coin," and she's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I don't know anything about that, but I heard crypto's cool. Sure, I'm in."
Yeah.
And then next thing you
Yeah.
know, they like freaking rug pulled, and then they're like, "Oh, and by the way, you could go to jail for this," and she's like, "What?"
Yeah. That's probably you. You literally just laid out the entire plot. That's exactly what
Yeah,
happened. You know.
that's my
Yeah.
guess, man.
It's wild, man. The thing is that like even though it's technically like it's still kind of a gray area in the law. The whole creating coins and rug pulling people, but. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to make a normal Mtber coin and then rug pull everyone. So don't count on me doing that. But there's like it is to some degree a very like viable thing for people to do. Like
Right.
there's like I was watching this documentary about these dudes that live in Dubai and all they do every single day is create coins. And it's not that easy. I've looked into it. It's really I'm sorry, it's not that hard to do. Like there's you can just
Yeah.
download programs like that you just type in the stuff that you need and it creates a coin, drops it onto the market, and you're just like, okay, there we go. Like there's
Yeah.
literally people that are able to make these coins within 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Like that's how fast you can make these coins. And
Right.
so yeah, I mean it's a wild, wild world. I think that mountain biking, to bring back to the whole root of the of the show, right? Like the bike world is super far behind in a lot of stuff. But this one, I think, like the whole crypto digital asset world, which is it's not going away. Let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
Like I think this is something that the bike world is going to be completely left in the dust on unless people start talking about this and see
Yeah.
how can the bike world improve itself like in this way. Um, so I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts? Do you think that there's any kind of like any way that this digital world is going to translate to mountain biking in a way that's actually going to make a notable impact?
I think it's highly likely that a cryptocurrency, um, let's just say something major like Bitcoin or something that ends up having that much like actual participation
Yeah,
will be ultimately the currency of the planet.
yeah,
Like
mhm,
it just makes sense for it to be like an like not tied to a government,
yeah,
a financial way of like freely trading money.
mhm,
Um, just to me, like logically, it just makes sense that that would happen.
yeah,
So then the real question becomes like then like who really controls those? Like, is the blockchain really as anonymous and as like free flowing as we're led to believe, or could still somebody be back there like plucking the strings? You know what I mean?
yeah. There's
But
room for manipulation because on the blockchain, everyone tells you it's fully like it's totally open. Like you can literally look up every sale, every
yeah,
transaction. But the reality is that there's private off-chain trades that happen, right?
right,
So there's a lot of times where you don't know who the developers of a lot of these coins are. You don't know who owns the majority of these, of this crypto, right?
right,
So there definitely is room for that. And one of the things too that happened recently is the Federal Reserve is actually going to start. Um, they're actually going to start stockpiling crypto. They weren't too specific about which type, like whether it was Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, whatever.
yeah,
Like but they are going to start creating a reserve for crypto within the U.S. government, within the Federal Reserve, which, as we know, the Federal Reserve basically runs the U.S. government. But that's a whole
right.
nother conversation.
That's a whole other
Uh,
podcast.
that's a different podcast right there. But no, I mean, yeah, it's interesting, and these countries are going to start creating their own coins as well. Like Cuba did that recently. Like they created a coin and the rug pulled everybody. It's the craziest thing. Like the country of Cuba did that, right? But to back to what you were saying, I think you're totally right. I think it starts. If I would complete your thought, and I think this is where you were going with it. I think it starts with, we saw in mountain biking that you had at first you had to go into a shop and buy a bike from a shop. Now almost every, company has their own online version, on their online retailing, right? You can go and buy a Specialized or a YT or whatever it is online nowadays. And then they're going to move towards this whole digital currency world, right? This whole crypto world, right? Where it's going to become so valuable to have certain types of cryptos like Bitcoin, where bike companies are not going to be competitive unless they're trading in those assets, right? Those
Yeah.
and because it's, I mean, the fiat currency that we have in the United States, as you know, it's prone to inflation. It's prone to utter complete collapse. We've seen that happen throughout history many times. So it's like having that stability of a digital currency, and not to be confused with a central bank digital currency like a CBDC.
Hmm.
This is more of like a personalized digital currency, which is essentially what crypto is, right? I think it's going to end up being a much safer bet for companies like all over the world to be using cryptocurrency, especially when there's an industry as volatile as mountain biking is. Right now we're in a pretty big slump in the bike industry, right? Like bikes
Hmm.
aren't going off the shelves like they used to, and unfortunately, we're in an era where digital crime is super rampant. I mean, how many emails did you get this week about how you had a package that didn't get delivered and you need to put in your social security number, right? Like,
Right. Right.
so it's weird, man. We're really, like, this year we're at a cuff right now in society, and on the timeline that we're living in, whatever timeline that may be, where things are going to change drastically in the world in ways that we're just not really used to.
Yeah.
And that's why I've been so adamant with myself personally to try to bring in AI as much as possible, because, like, if this whole AI thing, if this whole digital currency world thing really becomes something that stays with us like the internet is, right? Because people were laughing about the internet, they weren't taking it seriously back when it first came out. Now look at it, right? If it really is something that's going to stick around, like, you better know what's happening, or else you're going to get crushed by this
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Like,
I
you're gonna
agree, bro.
get demolished by it. It's
Yeah. There's zero doubt in my mind that AI is not like a major part of our lives as
Mm,
we go into the future. And I think you're like relating it to the internet is very good. It's the same thing with like social media. Like when social media first came out, like people didn't realize how much of an impact that was going to have.
yeah.
And I think that's like a door that swings in a couple different directions though too.
Oh
It's like
yeah.
some good
Yeah.
and some bad, and I think that's the
Mhm.
same with the AI as well. I mean, if you listen to Rogan recently had Facebook guy on, drawing a blank on his name right now, but
Oh, Zuck.
Zuckerberg, yeah, and Zuck's talking about like how you're gonna have like an AI assistant that will, like, hey, AI assistant, write my email and make it sound like it's me and do these things, and you'll actually have your AI assistant in your freaking meeting with you, like, so that you could task it to do things. So like when you're in a video conference meeting, like there'd be this avatar of this like fake person that's you're talking to, and so you can see it like realistically, like, oh, there's zero doubt that these things will happen. It's just kind of like how it all like shakes out. I think
Yeah.
to like pivot a little bit from that and kind of get us back onto the mountain bikes. And I mean, I think it's in the same space though. Is like one of the things that you're mentioning there is like you like to stay up with the newer things and try new things, and I think that's part of your success. I saw on YouTube today that you launched a long form video in vertical format.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a
How
mistake.
you feel like that didn't work, huh?
I don't know. We're only like 30 hours into that thing being posted, so I don't know. It's not doing nearly as well as the videos usually do. But
Yeah,
no, I wanted to try something. I always had that in the back of my mind of, like, dude, like, so many people watch these videos on their phones, and I look at my analytics on YouTube, and the majority of people that are subscribed to me watch it on their phones. But I guess it's like me trying to simplify it for people ended up, like, really hurting me in the long run. So
yeah.
yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna do another video like that. I got a lot of people really pissed off at me for doing that. So
Oh yeah. I mean, I was reading through the comments. I mean, obviously you see that. I mean, haters gonna hate, right? So like, no
yeah.
matter what, you'll get let's say if the spread is 10 comments, it's easier to get 7 of them that are negative than it is to get 10 of them that are like 7 of them that are positive. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's true. That's true. Yeah.
So like, but on the other end, like I I okay, let me take a step back. I clicked the video and I definitely had a similar impression as a lot of those people where I was like, what the fuck? You know, like
Yeah.
it's not getting bigger. And then it
Yeah.
was like, oh, he's just doing the intro like this. And then I'm like scrolling the mouse along and I'm like, no, it's like that the whole way. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, and so then part of me, but I'm watching it on a PC. So obviously that's like, that makes sense, you know, that I would feel that way. But then I'm thinking, okay, well, if I was watching this on my phone, what would my experience be then, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it just really made me think about it though. It's like when vertical first became a thing, there was plenty of platforms that they didn't have a vertical platform. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So like people would put the video in vertical in a regular like horizontal frame, and you would just like when you expand it, then it would fill it up, right?
Mhm.
And now it's like such a normal thing that it's like, oh no, people are doing it that way, you know? And so like it really made me question of what you were doing. Like, does that make sense? You know, because some of these other platforms like TikTok and like Instagram, they're expanding their time frames. Like it's no longer just 60 seconds, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when do you get to 15 minutes? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I know that on TikTok, they have actually. This might be slightly outdated information because obviously everything's always changing. But I
Right.
remember sometime last year I saw something where TikTok did they like released their, I don't know, quarterly or second quarter analytic, performance, whatever the big companies do, right? And they were talking about how they had more people jump from like 30-second and below videos to 5 minute and above videos on their platform, higher than any other platform had to jump at that same time. Which that was probably a lot of jargon for me, but essentially what that means is that more people, that they were able to figure out that more people are watching longer videos, and the performance on longer videos on their platform are actually doing way better than like per se a 7-second video.
Like the
um,
doom scrolling kind of videos.
Exactly. I think what's weirdly happening right now is we had a period of like 2 years where like the doom scrolling thing was a real thing. Like the 7-second video was all the attention span people had, and now
Right.
it's coming back to like that video that I posted today or yesterday. I'm sorry, the long form video. I had it
Mhm.
on TikTok. I had it on TikTok for like 30 minutes. And in that 30 minutes, it got more views on that 9 minute video than it did for every other short video that I had posted in the last like 2 months. Like better
Hmm.
in those first 30 seconds. But then unfortunately, for whatever reason, TikTok muted the video. They said it was copyrighted, but I literally own the copyright to the whole video. So I don't
Right.
understand what happened there. So I deleted it. So it's not up on
Yeah.
TikTok anymore. But it was like, it showed me, I was like, oh, this is, there's like some viability to do in long form, like on in this form. So maybe may not work, for YouTube, but for TikTok, hey, this might be an option. For Instagram,
Yeah.
hey, might this might be an option because it's not doing terrible. I didn't expect it to do as well as other videos, but hey, it's still
Yeah.
getting views. People are still watching. I'm getting good feedback on it, so it's like, there might be
The,
some stuff there.
the algorithms with the different platforms just blow my mind. Like
Yeah.
how different they are. Like I can put the exact same video on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, and it'll be like one has thousands of views and one has 35. And then
Yeah.
one has like 200 views or something like that.
Yeah.
Or and I
Yeah.
know your numbers are way different than mine, but I would imagine that you see something similar where it's like millions here and hundreds of thousands there.
Yeah, it for sure. And another thing, it's always shifting too. Like for YouTube, for example, I'll post a video and it'll get like no views for like the first like 2 weeks. And then for whatever reason, after like the 2 to 3 week mark, all of a sudden it's just got millions of views. And I'm just like, what does this mean? Like, where did this come from? Right. So
Yeah.
a platform like YouTube almost seems like they'll keep content on the back burner and fill in, like add stuff, remove stuff, constantly shifting content around to try to keep that engagement on their platform going. Whereas a platform like TikTok seems to take the approach of, hey, you can post a video. We don't care how many followers you have. If it doesn't trigger our specific algorithmic needs, we don't care. We're not going to show the video to anybody, which is what
Yeah.
happens to most people. That's why you go, like, there's barely any bikers, mountain bikers on TikTok that are actually doing well on TikTok, because I mean, obviously you have big creators, right? But there's like it's hard for creators on TikTok in the mountain bike space to do really well consistently. And then you have a platform like Instagram that's like, all right, cool. We have the valued, followers that want to watch your stuff. We have the followers that haven't watched your stuff yet, but we're going to suggest it to them. And then it's going to be a mix match of a whole bunch of stuff. And maybe you might get lucky, maybe you won't. But at the very
Yeah.
best, you're going to reach your audience, right? At the very
Yeah.
least, that's what's going to happen. It's
I feel like
all over the place.
Instagram does the best job of at least like getting it out to my people.
Yeah.
And then if it's good outside of that, then it shows it well. Whereas like with YouTube, or at least on the shorts, on like very seldom, like I just don't see it hit my audience the same way that I see everything else, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because my audience is actually like a long form audience. You know what I mean? Like I don't have a short form audience. So the algorithm knows like, yeah, these people don't watch that shit. So,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
or who knows what it is. It's just really interesting. It's interesting. It would be awesome to like really know the like what the nuts and the bolts are, but I think that the people there at those companies don't actually even know what all the nuts and the bolts are, because so much of it's like machine learning. So it's like what the algorithms learned on its own, So it's like,
yeah, it's at the end of the day, the only thing that's consistent amongst all the different platforms is that they all want to have people use their platform more than the others.
right.
So they're all going to use their way of trying to get people to use their platform as opposed to the other competitor platform, right? That's the only thing that's consistent. Everything else is different. And whatever you learned last year about the algorithm is 10 versions away from what it is now. It's
Yeah.
it's constantly changing, and that's honestly the whole social media game. That is probably the hardest part, because it's also the most discouraging part. You could put 5 days worth of hard work into a video, and then you post it and it goes nowhere, no one sees it, and you're just like, well, what the hell? Like, this was an amazing video, right? It's like, but
Yeah.
there's so many things that go into it. Like, how's your thumbnail? Like, what kind of words do you use in your caption? Like, how did you hook people to it? Like, how did your video start? How did it end? It's like all these different things that go into it. It's
Yeah.
unreal. It makes you go crazy sometimes, man. I'm half the time I'm sitting there in front of the desk just tearing my hair out. And,
Yeah.
just, yeah. So it's a wild one, man. Social media
So
game is brutal.
when you and your brother started, I mean, you guys started on TikTok primarily, I think, then in like Instagram and stuff. Where was your goal initially was like, hey, let's try to make this like our full-time job, right?
Well, sort of. We didn't really expect it to go to this extent, but like it was like during the whole COVID lockdown stuff, right? So
Okay.
like it was mostly just like a thing. Like we really truly started it to be just to do something other than sitting around with a freaking mask on trying to go into Whole Foods or whatever, right? Like
Right.
it was it was like, dude, this sucks. Let's go ride our bikes, and wow, there's like all these places that we can like film at. I used to film, and yeah, we just started posting stuff on Instagram. And I had a fairly successful YouTube channel way before this too. Like, I don't know if I ever told you that actually, but yeah,
I
I
think
had a
it's
YouTube
like
channel like
a
way
car
back.
thing or something like that.
In the car, yeah, in the car world,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah,
would
that's
work on
what
my
it was.
BMW, and like I would post videos, and like I had a few videos do really really well, and I was like, this is a thing. But then like I ran out of money, and so
Mhm.
I couldn't work on my car anymore, so I stopped making videos. So, but anyway, yeah, man, we it didn't really start off with the intentions of it going like this, and then like it kind of created, like, the opportunities were created for us. Obviously, not necessarily. Obviously, was there luck probably involved? Yeah, maybe. But also, it was like we worked really hard on it too. Like there was, we got in at the right time. Right when the Instagram shorts were popping up.
Mhm.
We got in right when that, like, literally like the first day that it like was released on the platform. I think I posted a video like the first or second day it came out. stuff like that. So we were in really early, and I think that had a big part of it as well. But it was like a lot of long nights, and we were broke for so long. Like we're so lucky that like our parents were nice enough to be able to like let us stay at their place and like basically use their house as a headquarters for us. And like
Yeah.
they weren't they were very very understanding of it. Our parents, I have great parents, man. They always believed in us, right? So
Mhm.
I'm sure they were a little bit doubtful at first, but they were like, okay, we'll just give them a chance. You guys can live here, do this, grow it. And then as soon as it started growing and kind of becoming more and more of a reality for us, obviously we kind of took things a little more seriously and really got dedicated into making the platform work, making the social media stuff work, and started talking to companies and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you feel like this is something that you're going to do for the rest of your life?
So in this form, probably not now. I mean, the thing is, there's change is constantly happening no matter what, whether
Mhm.
we like it or not, right? To think that life is going to stay the way it is now is extremely naive. Like, I'm not willing to take that leap of faith. Like
Yeah.
that's way too much of a risk, right? So are things going to change? Absolutely. Especially where considering where things started for us, right? Like where we started and where we are now are totally different places. And so yeah, am I going to do this forever? Probably not. No, am I going to do it for as long as we can and as long as it actually makes sense? Like, absolutely. Yeah. We're doing
Yeah.
really well right now. I have no major complaints on anything. It's like we're in a very lucky position. So it's like, we're going to keep this ball rolling, utilize this as a way to start the next phase of life, right?
Mhm.
What's the next phase in this business? What's the next phase of normal empty beer? Is normal empty beer even going to exist in 5 years, 2 years? Who
Yeah.
knows, right? I really don't know. And we've got a lot of plans in the oven right now, shall I say,
Mhm.
that are gonna like not start the phase out, because we're not trying to phase out. I'm not trying to imply that we're going to leave. It's more of like we're starting, the next stage of where we're going to go. That's all in the works right now. So you guys will be
Here
seeing
comes the
like,
crypto.
no, it's not crypto. It's not. I'm not going to do anything bit like I'll do my
I'm
own,
just,
my own
yeah, I'm
degenerate
just
gambling. But no, we've got something in the bike world that we've been
Yeah.
dropping. I don't know if I talked to you about it. I'm not sure I'm ready
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not going to say
Yeah.
that publicly yet, but
Yeah. Yeah. I totally understand. I think we talked about it off camera before, but
yeah.
no, that's super exciting, man. Do you feel like you've cracked the code well enough that you could do any other niche and be successful? The reason I ask that is like just recently BCPOV shut his channel down and he started
Oh,
something like completely different. I don't know if you knew this,
I had
but
no idea. No.
yeah, he's made an announcement. I'm no longer doing BCPOV.
Hmm.
And he's like, I'm gonna do this new channel. It's gonna be me riding a motorcycle from Alaska all the way around the world. And it's been a couple of weeks and he's already at 50,000 subscribers.
Okay,
So
nice. Yeah.
like obviously that dude's cracked the fucking code.
Mhm.
Like, do you feel like you're in a spot where you're like, you know what? I don't want to do mountain bikes anymore. I think I'm gonna like Baja my BMW or whatever. Like, do you think you could turn that around like quickly, or do you feel like you still have a lot to learn in the social space?
Well, I'm not going to sit here and say I know everything. That's for
Yeah.
sure. I would, I to be honest, I do think about this all the time.
Hmm.
It's interesting because I wish that I could sit here and say, my ego is saying that yes, I can do that. But
Yeah.
realistically speaking, that like I said, there's so many factors that go into being successful on social media that um would I be able to replicate it as good as we have with normal empty beer? I don't know. I would hope that I could.
Yeah.
But there's only really one way to try. I've always thought about starting a third, thing, second or third thing, right? Because everything that we've all done, up until now, it's all been mountain bike oriented. But
Right.
mountain biking for me is only like 25% of my life. It's
Right.
like when I can consider all the things that I'm into, all the genuine like interests that I have in life, like it's fairly low on the totem pole as far as like things that I do regularly. Obviously, biking is a massive, massive part, and it takes up most of my time with the Nrml Mtber stuff. And I like to go ride bikes. I just like to go without a camera and just go and go look at nature, go look at clouds, go look at deer.
Yeah.
I love doing that stuff. But there's also a whole bunch of other things that I do too. Like when I have a day off, I'm probably not going to go biking on my day off, if that
Mhm.
makes sense, right? Just because I do it so often, it's like, why would I? It's like I love doing it as like a weekday type thing. Like I go and work, but Saturdays, Sundays, if I take a day off, like I'm probably gonna go do some other stuff that I probably shouldn't talk about the channel on the channel here. So,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
but
No, that's understandable
yeah.
though. Yeah, I have another channel that I made specifically for doing different kinds of videos, and I
Mm,
really haven't like I have a couple of ideas of like things that I want to do, and they have nothing to do with biking. And but I
mm,
just am not 100% sure like what my end goal is with that channel. Like
mm,
what is my niche? You know what I mean? Do I want to be like a 3D printer channel? Do I want to be a a craft guy? Do I want to be a person that's like travel vlogging? Do I want or you know what I mean? And for me, I think what I want to do with that channel is just do whatever I'm interested in, and like and not necessarily a specific niche, more of just like, hey, here's me learning how to do this, or here's me like trying to figure this out, and this was
mm.
fun and I want to share that. But I don't
Rubik's
know
cubes,
how.
right? Like
Huh?
your Rubik's cube wall.
Yeah, exactly.
There we
Like,
go. Yes.
but I think there's stuff like that where it's like for instance, the backdrop behind me, like Seth would make a video of building that. You know
Mm,
what I mean? And it would be interesting to people that aren't necessarily mountain bikers, right?
yeah.
And for my channel, like I don't film that because I'm like, that's gonna
Mm,
take me fucking 10 times longer to do, you know what I mean?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
to me, it's also not like in my for my channel, for like the type of content that I like to make on the biker channel, like I don't feel like that has a place there. But
Mm,
but that could be a place where like this other channel would be like, um that works, and I
yeah.
think like as far as branding goes, like I already have the channel name and everything like set aside, and it falls into like the biker brand, but
Mm,
it wouldn't be biker videos.
mm, mm.
I'm just not sure how much time I want to put into it, because this is the thing, man. It's like, dude, there's only so many hours in the day, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's so easy for me to like overcommit every day because I have too many ideas. You know what I mean?
Well, welcome to the club, dude.
Yeah,
We seem
yeah.
to be two peas in a pod there.
I think it has something to do with people that are like, I think that that's one of those things that is very similar about a lot of YouTubers, is that they're just very creative, and then like creatively driven as well. Where it's like you're it's an outlet, but it's also like an addiction. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, for me, dude, I'm just terrified of getting sucked into some job that I hate, where I have to
Yeah,
set an alarm clock every morning to go and shower and get dressed in a decent clothing to go sit in a cubicle for 8, 9,
yeah.
10 hours a day to have a boss that's a dickwad that like I don't like hanging out with or anything. I'm like, I just can't. I can't do that life. I did that life already and it killed me, man. Like it killed my soul. So I'm definitely at the point now where it's like, like either I accomplish what I want to do with all the social media stuff, or I completely leave like everything. I leave the West and I go down to like Costa Rica or something. I live on the beach the rest of my life. Just find a
That's
nice
an
wife,
option.
pump out babies, and eat coconuts on the
Right?
beach. Stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, those are like it, with the channels, it's like on one hand it's very fulfilling, but on the other hand it is definitely like way more work than most people would assume it is.
It's a
Just
considerable amount more. Yeah.
yeah, it's just I I know I've said this a million times on my podcast. I'm sure people that listen to my podcast on the regular are just like fucking overhearing it, but it's just, even for me as a creator, it still surprises me like how long it takes to do things,
Mhm.
to make a good video, to make a video that people are just stoked on, and just the amount of time and the things that you spend time on to like a long format video, like even a short form video though. I mean, it's like there's so much intricacy in that, where people would think, oh, that 30-second video, like you bang that out in an afternoon, and it's like,
Mhm.
not if you want it to be really good. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, that's my struggle with YouTube, man. Like the shorts are one thing because it's usually the shorts I already have the idea well in advance, and we've gotten kind of down to like a routine where we're able to, like, obviously, unless it's like some kind of sponsor type thing, but like if it's just our general content, like we're able to bang out shorts in like one video in like a few hours. So we kind of do it so that we have multiple different videos per day that we're filming, and then I edit them, have them loaded in the chamber, ready to go for when the day that pops off. I can start posting them. But the YouTube thing, man, that's a hard game. You're like just that video I just dropped, that vertical one. That one took me probably 3 days of straight editing to do, of like waking up at like 7:30, 8 in the morning, turn on the computer, get to work, back pain, headache from staring at a screen all day, dry
Yeah.
eyes, the whole 9 yards, in bed by like 2 a.m., wake up the next day at like 7:30, 8 o'clock again, do the same thing over again.
Yeah.
Um, it's hard, man. But yeah, the
You
payoff though.
edited that in, I'm thinking about, did you film that vertical too?
Yeah. Oh yeah. The whole thing was filmed vertical. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
That
I was
was,
gonna
that was
say, because
planned, dude. Yeah.
if you edited that just like on a vertical sequence, like you could just turn that into a wide frame and then see how it does that way. But yeah, never
No,
mind.
it was all, yeah. I filmed that video like maybe 4 months ago.
Uh-huh.
Like there's a lot of videos that, dude, we spent this whole year filming a boatload of videos just for me not to have time to edit any of them. So I have like, dude, I have at least like 8 videos that I'm sitting on right now that are in the chamber right now, ready to go to where I could just start posting them on a regular schedule. But it's like, oh, dude, like I kind of wish I filmed that one regular landscape, because that was a pretty good video, like, nonetheless. It was one of the better ones we've ever made. So yeah, it is what it is though. Live and learn, it is what it
Do
is.
you typically like film and then edit, or do you typically make a backlog what you have?
No, I would like to, like, the ideal scenario would be film a video one week, spend a couple days after, then post it. Like, a couple days editing, then post it. But what's happened this year is we had such a busy schedule during the travel ride season, that every time we filmed a video, we would go somewhere, go on a project, film a video. We would only have like a week back at home before we had to go to the next place. And obviously during that week, we have to do short videos. We have to do, run errands. Like we have to make sure the business isn't collapsing. Everything that comes
Yeah.
first. And then it's
Yeah, you still
like,
have to like do your laundry and go grocery
yeah,
shopping and
yeah.
like
And then in there
real people
somewhere, I
things
have to
too.
figure
Yeah.
out like a time to sleep and then just
Right.
chill, like,
Right.
simultaneously, right? So it was kind of hard to make all that stuff happen. But now obviously it's winter, so it's a hell of a lot easier for me to just sit down and it's snowing outside right now. I can kind of just do whatever I want now in here. It's like,
Right.
yeah, I can edit, get a nice cup of tea and sit down there, and I'm good to
Yeah.
go. Listen to a podcast while I'm editing or something, and I don't have to stress about it, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I would love to be able to film and then edit. And every time I get myself into that spot, like you said, something
yeah,
happens that I end up with this like backlog.
yeah,
And it's like, on one hand, it's irritating as fuck, because then you have to go back and, let's just say, essentially rewatch all the footage,
hmm,
like relive that day just so that you can know what's in there, so that
yeah,
you can make this story, right?
mhm,
But then on other cases, when I think about it over time, it's like, actually going back and looking at it later, I usually have a different perspective on that whole trip than I did if I was to just come home and edit it that day.
Yeah.
So it's tough to know, it's tough to know like which is better. I know just personally though, I would much rather, because I'm excited about the whatever I just filmed, and that makes it easier for me to edit. Whereas if it's something that I did 3 months ago, it is so easy for me to just procrastinate the fuck out of editing, because I'm like, it's not like fresh and exciting in my head, where it's like if I got off the road trip to Whistler and that day I started editing that trip, like I would be stoked about it because it's all like right there fresh in my memory.
Yeah.
But then editing it, 4 months later, it still ended up being some great videos, but it really took a lot of like personal effort to get myself to actually edit.
Yeah.
Do you struggle with something like that?
All of the time. I'm sitting here just like, yep, you're just explaining my life, bro. Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. We'll literally go through, like I've got a video. Let me give you an example. When I was like 2 years ago, we went to Mexico, and it was legit. Like it was an amazing trip, absolutely wild. Like the perfect trip for like just an epic travel video, right? Like
To Oaxaca?
tons of fun. What was that?
To Oaxaca?
No, actually, outside of Mexico City. We
Oh,
went to yeah, we flew into Mexico City. We went to Pachuca, so up in the mountains, Hidalgo, like way deep out in the mountains over there, and then just outside, like right above, like the city of Mexico, like Mexico City, whatever you want to call it,
yeah.
DF, right?
Right.
Just above the mountain, like right in the city. There's some beautiful mountains. It looks like Canada there. It's crazy. And we did a bunch of stuff there, but yeah, we did that video. We were there for a week, got a ton of footage. I still have all that footage. And it was just like I just haven't edited the video yet, and I'm like worried because I don't remember most of the people's names who are in the video. So I'm like, oh shit, like how do I actually pull this off and make it like a good video? And it's like videos like that, I don't know if I'll ever post. It's just
I can
so
tell you
far
right now,
behind.
if you sit down with that footage, you'll make an awesome story. It'll just be
Yeah.
don't let that like stop you from doing it, is what I'm trying to say. Because there's been
Yeah, yeah.
so many videos that I've done that actually ended up being like really good videos, like bangers, like they did well,
Mhm.
where I almost just scrapped because I was like, I'm not editing it. This is
Yeah.
gonna be garbage. Like
Yeah.
what's the story? I don't even know. You know,
Well, you know what the most successful long form video I've ever made was
what's
literally
that?
the ease. Dude, it's on the second channel that I have. It's called Informal Normal. I
Mhm.
barely ever post on that channel. Like I posted really consistently and then didn't at all for like a year. But I made a video where I went to Santa Cruz. I just happened to be in Santa Cruz for something. I happened to have my GoPro with me, and I happened to have an e-bike. And I titled it "This is what they don't tell you about e-bikes," and put a picture of a Levo SL, like a specialized Levo SL,
Mhm.
and a picture of like with a thumbnail of me going like that or something.
Mhm.
And and the video was literally, if you go back there and watch it, you're like, what the kind of garbage is this? Like it's literally me, the GoPro's right here pointing forward at the handlebars, and me talking about why I think no one like me talking about why I think e-bikes are good for big people and why you shouldn't hate on them. And it's like a 15-minute long video, and I don't even know how many views, hundreds of thousands of views. And I'm just like, what? Where did this come from? Like just out of nowhere, it's the most successful video we've ever made. And
Yeah.
it's like it took me maybe 30 minutes to edit it. I didn't do any fancy overlays, nothing. Just bam, 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 footage, done. Render, post, done. That was
Yeah.
literally how long it took me to do. Wild, like absolutely
Those
wild.
are the ones that just like perplex you, dude. And if you
Yeah,
spend too much time thinking about it, like it just hurts your brain and your soul. But like that's also like as well as I do, it's a fluke. It's a complete fluke. Because you could do that 15 more times, the exact same thing, and all
yeah,
of those are gonna fail.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely, man. It's wild. What do you have coming up this year? 2025, the big old 2-5. What you got going on?
You know, I have a couple of videos that I want to do about the bikes that I've been riding.
Yeah.
I want to do a video that I've been filming for like a year now, is basically
Mhm.
is me trying to get down to this goal. So I I did the video at the beginning of last January, and I was hoping to be at my goal weight this January, but I'm
Yeah.
not there yet.
Yeah.
But I've been taking video about the whole process. And I think what I'm going to do is whenever I finally do get to the goal, and I've been afraid to do this, but I'm starting to mentally prepare myself for it. Is I really want to make like an hour or hour and a half long, like almost documentary style video of that whole thing.
Oh,
And
nice.
And so it'll be like pieces of all the videos that have already happened, but like actually telling a different story. That's the whole process. And I'm excited about that, and I'm scared of it at the same time. Of like, can I actually tell a story that's that long? That's like entertaining. You know what I mean? Or is it just like a complete waste of time?
Oh, dude,
I really go ahead.
No, I was gonna say you have like the perfect setup for this amazing, even if it was like a long video, like it could be the perfect setup just from the weight. Well, you're talking about the weight loss journey, right?
Yeah.
Like that's yeah. So it would. I mean, that would be amazing. And even then, dude, you could do stories on. I mean, just some like the last time I saw you, right? Some of the stories you were telling me about when you were in the military and you got struck by lightning. Like, dude, you could do a whole hour-long story, like a video about that, and people would be glued to the screen, just watch, like listening to. Like, dude, I was like, have you ever told that to the channel before? That story?
Yeah. I've told it on this. I think I've told it on this podcast before, and I'm definitely told it on live stream before on the biker channel.
Okay, because dude,
It's been out there a few times, but yeah, it's entertaining for sure.
Dude, you had me totally captivated when you were saying. I was like, "There's no way this fool is like sitting here alive right now telling me this. Like, there's no way he survived this, dude. Are you sure you're not living in like some dream? You know, like right when you die, right? Like there's a flood of DMT in your brain. Like, are you sure this isn't just a dream happening right now?
It could be, right?
I think about that genuinely every day.
Right?
But
yeah, it's definitely yeah, so those are a couple of things. I think that where I'm at with my channel is I just really want to tell like fun stories, and you know, the mountain biking aspect is like a good part of it. It's like I just really like that adventure of going out and doing a ride and going somewhere new or whatever. And I think initially when I started the channel, in my mind it was going to be like a BKXE type of channel, you know, like a like a maybe a trail guide kind of channel.
Yeah.
And later I just found out that I just really just like telling these stories of like what happened. And I think that those are really fun. But
yeah,
I also want to do like a little bit of trail guide stuff. That when I first started my channel, there was a bunch of trails that I rode around here, like locally, that I wanted to, you know, showcase. And maybe 6 months or a year ago, like I went back through all my old videos, and there's a lot of them that I just didn't feel like were the same standard as what I make now. And instead of just leaving them out there, I unlisted them all. And the idea at the time was I enlisted them because then that would like drive me to go do those videos in those places again. But it hasn't really happened that way. So, and I think what I struggle with is like, I know that if I do like a corral trail video, let's just say in South Lake, like it'll definitely do well geographically here. But how do I make that story entertaining to somebody who doesn't live here?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
You know,
I really want to like, I've had this idea of filming every trail in Auburn and making it so that you could, in a way that you could kind of like put your own ride together. So like if you want to climb Clem, and then you want to do the connector trail, and then you want to do Forest Hill Divide loop, like you could watch these 3 videos and it would feel like, oh, now I know what I'm expecting.
Yeah.
But I don't know how realistic that is.
It's definitely a lot of work.
Yeah.
Having to go to all these trails, like drive around everywhere. I mean, it's like if you're gonna ride those trails already, may as well, right?
Well,
Um,
that's the thing is
yeah.
like I ride up there a lot, like let's just call it like fitness rides, is what I call it, like what I consider them in my head. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
it's Tuesday after work. I'm gonna go ride this trail. I'm gonna ride this trail. So it would be pretty easy for me to capture all those trails and then also capture them in different directions. But the other end of it is like the editing and like how do you actually make that fit together well? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah. You'd have to come at it with some kind of super engaging way, right? Because
Right.
the days of just like throwing some riding clips out on and kind of talking about the trails, like yeah, you can still post stuff like that, but I mean, like it's just not getting the numbers that it used to.
Yeah.
There's
It
especially since you can literally, if you're really curious on a trail, like a specific trail that's like a fairly popular trail, like I mean, what Trail Forks now has photos. They allow you to upload photos, right?
yeah.
So I mean, but I'm gonna be honest. I still, whenever I'm looking up to do a new trail somewhere that I've never been, I'm probably going to go on YouTube and look up that trail and see
Yeah.
like, am I going to die on this trail or am I going to be okay?
Yeah.
So yeah. So it's all in there. I think the key is like, how do you get that to the people that are going to be the ones that actually genuinely want to watch that content, right? That's going to be the hardest
Yeah.
part. It's like, how do you market that to people, right? How are your thumbnails going to look? How's
Yeah.
the title looking? I think there's definitely a lot there. And putting your own style into it as well. It's going to be work, but it could be super. It could pay itself off super super well. It could
Yeah.
turn into you starting your own type of trail forks or Strava or something.
Yeah. It would be fun to redo a Strava. I feel like Trail Forks is gonna be Strava's competition.
Mm. Mm.
I think they're already allowing you to like upload your ride to there. They already have, in my mind, some social aspects of it. Like you can go to that trail, you can click on Toad's Wild Ride in Tahoe and scroll down to the bottom, and any video that has that tagged in their video is
Mm.
there on from YouTube. So like you can go to YouTube and find my video, or go to Trail Forks on that trail and find my video there
Nice.
because it's like tagged in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have that. You have like people being able to like comment on the trail and give like up to date information.
Mhm.
I think that they're working towards edging out Strava. That's just my assumption.
Yeah. It's interesting to add another layer to it is, have you heard of the app called OnX? Like
No, I
OnX?
haven't. No, no.
Ooh,
What
you
is?
gotta look that up. That's a sick. So it's technically like three or four different apps, but the whole OnX brand,
Mm-hmm,
they're like, I think it started off as like a hunting map, like a hunting
mm-hmm.
app to kind of allow you to go, into open space or national forest land, do some hunting, and then make sure that you never get caught on like, you never end up in someone's backyard or something, right? Someone's
Right,
private
right.
land. It's kind of it's a map essentially, right? But now they have like on X off road for like if you're into like off-roading vehicles out in the middle of
Yeah, yeah.
nowhere. And then I think they have now recently they've added an on X hike and bike as well.
Oh,
So now there's like it's essentially kind of a similar thing to Trail Forks or Strava, where maybe it's not so much like, hey, here's this trail and the name to it, but it's more so like, here's a map, this is where all the trails are, good luck, kind of thing.
yeah,
But I'm probably so outdated in what it is, but I know that those exist, right? So it's probably similar to Strava or Trailforks, but that company has been coming out swinging, and I actually downloaded one of the apps recently, and I just kind of fiddled around with it. It was amazing, like it was such a good app. So like really intuitive, like you're able to see everything. It tells you like where you are, like who owns that land. Is it state park? Is it federal? Is it this? Is it that?
yeah.
They can tell you like everything from elevation, so you know really how steep, not just like a little squiggle line on a screen, right? It's like,
Right, right.
no, this is the elevation that you're going to be seeing. It's super sophisticated. So I think that's something that we're going to see popping up more and more here in the bike industry pretty soon. Stuff like
it'll be
that.
interesting to see which way that stuff goes. It's definitely useful. I mean, I would tell somebody if they just got into mountain biking, the number one app that you need is Trailforks. Like, and then like if you want to have fun, the number two app is Strava, and it's just for like you're even if you're not looking at it in the community aspect of like, oh, I think I'm a badass, I'm gonna be like a town guy. like just for your own self of like,
yeah,
I can see how I did on this particular trail over and over again, and then over and over again over time. So
yeah,
like I can go back and look and how I rode, X mountain bike trail 4 years ago, and like, wow, at that point I was doing that trail in 11 minutes, and now I do it in 6. It's like, that's crazy. It's really cool to see that data.
Yeah, yeah. You see, dude, we're coming back to the digital assets. We're coming back to the digital world, man. It's happening, dude. We're here, man. The days of riding standard bikes are gone, dude. This is a clear sign. It's all about e-bikes moving forward from here, man.
I think it's going to be really cool to see the VR experience come to mountain biking. I think when you're able to do a POV ride, this is what will bring POV to like back hardcore, is when you can put on like VR glasses and it'll look like I'm on the bike going down the connector trail in Auburn. And you'd be able to turn your head and see like the trees passing by and shit like that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure those of us that'll be filming it will look like freaking kooks, just like Terminator hooked up with cameras and shit spinning all over the place. But to watch that video like that would be so rad. Imagine you could ride Whistler and know what it feels like to go down Blue Velvet.
Well, you could, dude, take it up. Let's take it up notch, right? You could go down Whistler, go down A line, right? While your VR headset and like have a girl, right there simultaneously.
I don't feel like this is the right direction for us to go with this conversation. But yes, you can do lots of different things while you're watching that video.
I could get that's the money. There's our business venture right there, man. Combining genres together, both on the internet, just two totally different genres.
Oh Lord.
That's a seriously good idea though, actually. Like the 3D virtual reality, like mountain bike, stuff. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But the one thing that worries me about VR is with Meta, right? Remember they did those Meta VR glasses and the metaverse type thing? Dude, people crushed that. Like where'd that project go? They were like, oh, it's gonna drop in 2020, whatever, and it's like we haven't heard anything about it, right? I think that we might still be a little early for that. Is it going to happen? I hope so, because that'd be so sick to put on VR headphones and watch Cam Zink go do his line at Rampage. Like, how sick would that be?
I think the other end of it that you'll see it though is even better. Or like to one up, let's just say, is you'll be able to put the VR glasses on, and I could go ride a trail in let's just say British Columbia, and like get on your trainer that's going to adjust the elevation and everything. Yeah. And you can pedal up to the top of Half Nelson and then go down Half Nelson in this like VR simulation.
Yes.
And actually feel like you went somewhere. So then the question is like, is that shit for free, or is that like paywall stuff? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good one, right? Like that's real good. You know what's funny? Just hearing you talk about that, even though like from a rad and business level perspective, I mean you're off the charts there, right? But I couldn't help but like having that movie Wall-E, like all the people in those chairs just fat, like drinking their little things. Like no one does anything. They just got robots to do everything for them. They just put their VR headset on and boom, they're riding the Whistler. The trails up in North Shore in Canada, right? Like they don't actually have to go.
But I was thinking, like, I have a buddy of mine that watches some of my my long cut videos that I have on Patreon. he'll watch those while he's just on the trainer, and he's like, oh, it kind of makes me feel like I'm riding the trail. And in my mind, I was like, what if you were actually riding the trail though?
Yeah.
Like, oh, here's the climb that you're going to go, like, say you're riding a stage of the Tour de France, and it's actually like you can turn your head and see the ocean over there, and turn your head and see people like walking around on the sidewalk. But like the trainer is actually like adjusting everything tension wise and whatnot, elevation wise. So your body really feels like you're actually there,
Wow. That's, dude, I would imagine that other than the general sensation that you would get from, the excitement of you jumping off a cliff or whatever, right? I'm sure that's not super possible, but the general experience of having someone go out there, they got the VR set up on their head, filming everything around them, right? I'm sure you could do that right now. Like there's VR glasses already exist,
100%.
360 cams already exist. You know what? You should look into that. That would be amazing. Because there's a thing. Imagine you combine that to go back to what we started the conversation with. You combine that with, hey, here is this system of trails in Auburn. Here is Nevada City. Here is this trail. Here is Flume Trail. Here is, you could go through and create a VR. Because one of the things too that's really hard to tell on GoPro videos or YouTube videos in general. At least one of the problems I've had is if you're going to a new place or there's new trails there, you've never been there before, you end up getting kind of lost. Like, yeah, you can have Strava open, yeah, you can have TripleMax, all this technology, but at the end of the day, you get there and there could be 3 different ways where you're supposed to go. How do you know where to go? And having that VR there to give you at least an idea, that sounds like a pretty good idea.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about there, what you'll see is like the more of the AR stuff, the augmented reality.
Yes.
So that would be, and I think that's what Facebook's really working on with their glasses. If you listen to like right now, at least that's what they're trying to do, is really get into that AR space so think about, you had goggles on, like you would maybe wear goggles anyway. But now these goggles like have up in the corner, you can see your cadence and your speed. And you can see, like, if you look left, it says that goes back to the base camp. And if you look right, it says that goes back to your car. And if you look straight, it's like 3 miles of 2,000 feet of ascent. And you're like, oh, okay, well, a little climb up there. You know what I mean? Like that will happen without a doubt. And I don't know, what that time frame is, but I wouldn't doubt if we're like within 10 to 15 years of that. Like
we should place a bet right now for the ladies and gentlemen watching. Let's place a bet, right? So you're saying that's going to happen in like 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, like where it's really seamless like that. Yeah, I think there's products out that are damn close to that probably already.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, right? I'm thinking it's going to happen in the next 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
I seriously, like, I actually genuinely think it's going to happen pretty soon. Like, okay, so whoever's right, I will, if you're right and it's 10 to 15 years, I will come out to your area and I will build you a custom trail. If I'm right, you come out to my area and build me a custom trail.
Dude, that is way more work than I'm not making that.
Come on, we're taking high risks here, okay?
I'm not jumping into your freaking Bitcoin freaking gambling, man.
Come on, man. You got me warmed up here.
In 5 years, gas is going to cost me $16,000 a gallon, dude, to get up to Reno, man.
It's okay. We won't be allowed to drive cars by then. It'll be automatic, brain buses or something. I don't know. They're coming for our freedoms, man.
So, hey, I wanted to ask you about your trip to the Navajo Nation. How did that come about?
Yeah, man, that was a good one, dude. That's something, that whole trip is going to stick with me for the rest of my life. Yeah, I mean, the general backstory to that is with Specialized, every year, kind of around the holidays, they like to just do something nice, right? Like last year, we did a giveaway for a local kid, back when I used to live in California. one of the kids in the neighborhood, he would show up and he'd ride by my house, and I'd be in the garage and he'd be super stoked because he watched the videos, but he always had like a super janky bike, and he was into it, man. Like this kid must have been 12 or 11 or 12 years old, and like he knew. He's like, hey, where do you go ride? I see in this video doing this, and I'm like, dude, like I go over there and I kind of show him around, and or not like literally physically go with him,
Yeah,
but I
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of tell him where it is, right? I'm not like a creeper or anything like that. And and so like but I was always one of those things. I was like, dude, I really don't know if you should go up there with your bike. That's kind of dangerous, man, because it was clap, dude. I'm talking like this is like
Yeah.
the Walmart special from back in 2006, dude. Like
Right.
clapped. And so Specialized kind of, last year they approached us, or I guess 2 years ago now, they approached us and they're like, hey, like we'd love for you to be part of this program that we're doing. And I was like, dude, I got the perfect kid. And so we made that happen. And it was amazing, crying. It was fantastic, right? So this year we did the same thing. And this year I was like, okay, how do we step things up a little bit more from last year? Like, what can we do that's going to be like really, really epic?
Hmm.
And like we kind of came across, some ideas, and a lot of the ideas didn't really work too well, and it was really hard for me to find some local kids here in the Reno Tahoe area because I've only been here, for about a year living here, and even then, I still don't really know too many people here, especially the younger kids and the neighborhood that I live in. Like there's kids here, but they're not like mountain bikers or anything like that. So it was
Yeah,
really
yeah.
hard, for me to find someone that would work around here and without it being weird or anything like that, right?
Right,
So
right.
I actually had a buddy. His name was Terrence. He's still my buddy. He's not like past tense. Like his name's
Yeah.
Terrence, and I met him at
He
Sedona
was
Bike
over,
Fest.
friendship's done.
Yeah, no, we were friends. No, no, no. No, my buddy Terrence. We met at Sedona Bike Fest a few years back,
Uh,
and he was just kind of telling me, he's like, yeah, man, we have like on the Navajo Nation. He's part of the nation. He lives a couple hours outside of Flagstaff on the Navajo reservation, and and he's like, yeah, man, come out. Like, we'd love to show you around. We got like cool trails. We got an awesome riding community. And I was like, sure, yeah, like, and we kind of left it there. And obviously would see him on social media and whatnot. But I mean, he looks so far away, so I didn't really see him for a while. And then this thing popped up, and I was like, you know what? I remember he was telling me, he's like, they got like a bunch of kids that ride out there. They got a whole bunch of people who are just absolute shredders. And I was like, dude, let me ask him if he knows of any kids maybe on the reservation that just need an upgrade or something, right?
hmm.
And it took a long time, man. It took a long time to find it. Like we probably started, started asking around probably about 3 months before we actually filmed the video. And then the planning that went into it, it was crazy, man. A lot of work, but it was totally worth it because we went down there. For those of you guys who don't know where the Navajo Nation is, it's basically like if you were to imagine, the four corners of like Utah, Arizona, Colorado, and New Mexico. There's like the four corners right there. It's like it literally looks like that on the state lines.
Hmm.
It's basically like all around there, like that whole region over there. It's massive. The Navajo Nation is ginormous. It's like the size of New Jersey, like a
Yeah,
massive,
yeah.
massive area of land. And so, yeah, we went out there. I had never been on the Navajo Nation. I mean, I've driven through, for random things, but I never actually gone, in there and hung out with all the locals and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And dude, it was what a trip, man. Like what a trip. Like that, there's so much stuff. This is the number one thing I learned from that trip. Like we I grew up in California, right? And I presume you grew up in a very similar environment as me. Public schools, the standard, here's your textbook, here's the history book, right? We're not really taught anything, like anything really about kind of the native side of things in American history, right? We just
Hmm.
don't know. Like
Right.
I never really met anybody who was like actually lived on the reservation until, very recently in my life. And so I didn't really know much about it. So a lot of it was kind of like this fairy tale, like, oh, the teepees and the rituals and the this and the
Yeah.
that. And like, it's like so you do like I did realize really quick how ignorant I was to how things really worked on the reservation. First and
Hmm.
foremost, everyone is really, really nice, like super nice.
Yeah.
Like everyone was super welcoming. I didn't actually know this at the time. I didn't find out until after the fact. But it's really rare to allow what we did to happen like that, like going into the res, filming, having, meeting up with a lot of the local kids there. Like that is super rare. That doesn't even happen. And there was one of the guys out there that worked for IMBA. And he was out there. He just happened to be working out there at the time we were there. And like one of like the second to last day or something, or even maybe even probably the last day actually, he's like he gets close to me. He's like, "Hey man," and he's not from the res. He's from, I think he's from like I think he was saying he's from the East Coast somewhere. And he was telling me, he's like, "Hey man, like you have no idea how rare this is that you're here, that even I'm here right now." And I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, dude, like people like us are not allowed to come out here." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Really?" Like I had no clue. I didn't really realize how special of a thing it was. And yeah, man, it was cool, dude. Like it was cool getting to know them, getting to know the guys out there. Just so many misconceptions that I had, just from our culture here
Yeah.
and the suburban areas, right? It's like we just don't know what goes on. And
Yeah.
overall, just had an absolutely amazing time out there, man. It was like one thing that really stood out. Like um, we were like the first day we were there, we did the giveaway to the kids. It was crazy, like emotions flying, everyone's happy. Um, we gave away two bikes, and the like the area where we did the giveaway where we actually filmed the video. I didn't know this at the time, but it was like the presidential building, like the president of the Navajo Nation. That's their Capitol building right there. So
Got
we
it.
were we
Okay.
were in we were in the parking lot of the Capitol building, and like I'm just like, really, like it was the craziest thing. It's like this round building with lights and stuff on it. I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
and it's surrounded by these crazy towers, like these like it's all natural rock formations, but they're like these massive towers all around it, and it's like nestled into this little like valley thing. It was crazy, like
Right on.
absolutely beautiful, man, absolutely beautiful. So yeah,
That's the beauty of traveling, man, is really getting to
yeah,
see other cultures, and it changes every trip that you take like that just changes you as a person, you know?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man, it was a good one, dude. I recommend, if anybody out there has an opportunity to visit either the Navajo or any of the other reservations, like seriously do it. Like it's one of those things I never really thought I'd ever, be a part of until
Mhm.
recently, and then we made it happen, and it's something that, like I said, I'm gonna carry for the rest of my life. It was amazing. Like,
Right on.
yeah, yeah, dude. I don't even know how else to really describe it. You just gotta go,
Yeah.
man. Like,
Yeah.
like you had to be there, man.
Right. Speaking of things that change your life a little bit, I know you had a crash not too long ago that kind of
Oh yeah.
really
Yeah,
shook
yeah.
things up for you. How's life treating you after that?
Luckily, I healed up right. I'm good now. My body's fine. I haven't experienced any of the like when you get old and they say, "Oh, my bones hurt when it rains," after I broke my
Yeah.
wrist or whatever. I haven't experienced that yet, but
Yeah, you're not even
um,
30 yet, so you got a while to live out.
I got a couple years in me. But
Yeah.
yeah, man. No, it was a pretty messed up crash. Like that was one of those types of crashes that um really make you think, wow, why am I still able to walk? Why
Mhm.
why did I not just snap my neck? Like
Yeah.
it's one of those, and yeah, I got really lucky, dude. Like I got
How
really,
long
really
ago was
lucky.
the crash?
What was that?
How long ago was the crash?
That happened at the either early September or late September. I don't quite remember the exact month. It was sorry, it's just there's
That's
so
good
much
enough,
stuff,
though.
so
I
much
think
stuff that
what I
has
was
happened
getting at
since
though
then.
is it's still like mentally affecting you though, the way that you're riding.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, yeah, I haven't recovered mentally from that. Like the thing is, physically I'm back to better than I was before the crash, right? I
Mhm.
feel a lot better. Like, I'm a lot fitter on the climbs. I'm a lot fitter, a lot more focused on the downhill, like a lot more focused. But the problem is that, like, for whatever reason, like, well, not for whatever reason, I have a very clear reason why. Like, it's just the like having the image of like being confined to a wheelchair the rest of my life doesn't seem very
Mhm.
appealing to me. Like,
Yeah.
I go into things now, and I go into, like, situations on a bike and I think, how can I crash here? You know, that
Mhm.
that image of me just flipping over the bars, landing on my face, you know, like literally feeling my neck twist, you know,
Yeah.
and feeling my shoulder just collapse into my ribs and feeling the ribs just crack all down. Like it's not a good, like, the feeling, the pain is one thing, you know, the physical pain is one thing, the mental, you know, the mental challenge but after the pain is a lot harder.
Mhm.
Because I just you know, it's for as much as I love mountain biking, I became very acutely aware of how it can go wrong
Yeah.
very quickly, because I had never had bad crashes like that before. Everyone has their fair share of crashes, you know. I've been to the
Right.
hospital before. I've been in situations where I almost, you know, broke my neck or whatever, but this was a very apparent, like, yo, like something was watching over you. Like you shouldn't have walked away from this. Like one of those
Yeah.
kind of crashes, you know. Yeah, it was pretty bad, man. It was pretty bad.
What do you think how do you think, that shakes out for you long term? Do you think you're able to get over it? Do you think you don't wanna get over it? Do you like, what's your perspective there?
Well, either way, like I'm gonna get over it no matter what. I just know myself, and I know that any kind of traumatic thing that I'll go through, whether it's severe, excuse me, whether it's severe or not, you know, it's just how I am. You know, within a year's time, I'm just gonna be like nothing ever happened. I'll be back on Dirt Merchant hitting the biggest shit in Whistler. You know, it's like it'll happen again, but it's just like right now I'm kind of at the point where I'm listening to my gut as much as I can, right? I'm listening to my
Mhm.
gut. It's telling me, hey, like step back from this a little bit. You've been going a little bit too crazy. Focus on some more important things. Get healthy, get stronger so that stuff like this doesn't happen again. Get more wise. Because the
Yeah.
crash, you know, for those of you guys who don't know what happened, I was in Spokane. It was 100% my fault, right? I was in Spokane, Washington, which is in eastern Washington. For those of you guys who don't know where that is, there's a trail system out there called Beacon Hill. Really, really cool place. I mean, awesome trails. The trail builders do an amazing job out there. Some of the more fun trails I've actually ridden in the country on this little tiny hill. There's just trails everywhere. It's amazing. Um, and it was just, we were going blind into a trail that was not a very challenging trail. The trail was, you know, very mild. But I was just, you know, it was the last day of our trip. Like literally, we were flying out the next day. Last day of our trip, like no cameras were rolling. It was just a fun day. Let's just go have fun, send it before we clean the bikes and pack them up. And and you know, we just kind of ran into some people out there. You know, we were riding with friends or, you know, a small group, and it just one thing led to the other. And I was like, screw it, I'll let loose a little bit. It's the last day. And yeah, there was a the way that the hillside is kind of made up is you'll have patches, like the majority of it is fairly soft dirt, you know, very like high desert. You know, you've got like pine trees and stuff out there, but then you also have the same kind of rocks that you would find at in Whistler or Squamish, right? So you have those
Mhm.
big rock rolls, like super grippy, but you have to be careful, right?
Right.
And and so you come on this trail that we were in, you come around a berm and it kind of flattens out onto this rock roll, and it's like a big rock. It must be, you know, 40 or 50 square yards, like in width, in size, right?
Mhm.
And at the on the top of this rock roll was a lip, like a dirt lip, like a dirt jump, right? And the way that it was kind of, when you come into it, I had made a mistake and thought that the jump went straight. So I thought that the lip was like that, and then you just go and jump down onto a landing behind this rock roll. So I thought the rock roll behind it was like a landing, but I found out found out the hard way. It was definitely not a landing. So I come into this I come into this fucking thing just full speed. I send it off this jump. And the moment I go off the jump, I realize I did made a huge mistake. I'm in the air and I see that where I thought there was going to be a landing, there is no landing. It is just a drop off, and there is
So it
nowhere
was
to land
supposed
my
to
bike.
be it was supposed to be like a hip
It was
instead.
supposed to be a hip. Yeah. So there was,
Okay.
if you look on the trail, it's like a jump hip into this little thing, this rock roll, which I thought was there. It was actually here.
Yeah.
And you just roll this way. So I jumped off of the rock roll and there was a drop off. Like it wasn't sheer, but it was like a gradient like that. But there was no way there was no way to land and ride it out. Like it was just
Right.
like this. As far as I could tell at the speed that I was going, it was basically just vertical. I was like
Yeah.
that, and I was flying off this
Yeah.
way.
In your
And
mind,
so
it was a cliff. As soon as you like were in there, you're
yeah.
like, there is nothing there. There's no
No,
trail.
there's
There's
like
no.
the moment I left the jump, I was like, I'm gonna crash. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's nothing I can do here. I'm bracing for impact. So
Right.
I like there was a point where you could kind of jump off your bike. I like landed sort of on top of the rock board before it dropped off, and I just bailed off my bike. And with my momentum and everything, I flew through the air probably like 20 feet maybe. Like it was a good amount of distance.
Yeah.
And I I just landed straight to my face, like straight, like bam, just straight on right here. I had a half I had a half lid on, so it wasn't full face or anything. Like my whole face slammed to the ground. I didn't. I don't know how I didn't get concussed. Like I remember the whole thing. I have no memory loss of any of it. Like I
Right.
remember the moment being in the air. I remember the moment hitting. I remember the moment feeling my ribs shatter. Like it was,
Yeah.
I remember everything. There was no dumbing any of it down. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I just hit really hard. Probably the scariest part about this whole thing was where I land. I don't think I have a video of this because my brother was filming me after. I don't think you can see it in the video, but where I landed, where my face impacted the ground, you can see the mark of where all the leaves and all the brush has been cleared away from my body just slamming into the ground. And then
Yeah.
about 2 feet over, if I would have crashed about 2 feet over, there was a fallen tree, like a big fallen tree that had all of its limbs still sort of attached. So there was like
Oh
spikes.
no, like
Yeah.
spikes.
Yeah,
Huh.
spikes. And I missed it by like 2 feet. Like
Yeah.
like I could have just landed on that, been impaled, and then boom, done. Like that's it right there.
Yeah.
Like straight to the neck or something, you know?
Ugh, that
It was
sucks.
bad,
Well,
man.
I'm glad you're okay. It
Yeah.
sucks to deal with the mental side of it though, and I think that was
Yeah.
the one of the main reasons that I wanted to talk about it, because I think that as riders a lot, we'll talk about like the gnarly crash and tell that part of the story,
Yeah.
but we don't usually, like, maybe it's because we're like our bravado or whatever. We don't normally talk about like afterwards, like how that fucks with you mentally, you know,
Yeah.
and what that process is like. And if you watch Sebastian's videos and he's jumping, like the comments are full of like, dude, you're like so awesome. But like at the end of the day, accidents happen still,
Yeah.
and how we recover from that is, it's always it's not necessarily like as pretty,
Oh yeah. No, dude, I'll tell you, man. Have you ever broken ribs before?
Yeah, it's no matter what you do, it sucks.
It's
Like,
horrendous.
oh god. The
It's
worst
the
thing
worst
that you
thing.
could possibly do is sneeze. I just remember every time I've
Oh.
ever broken a rib, I'm like, God, please don't sneeze, because
Yeah.
it hurts so bad. You just like want to cry.
So I broke them right here on the front at the bottom of my rib cage right here,
Uh-huh.
and on my back over here underneath my
Oh
shoulder
wow.
blade.
Oh
So I had
wow.
it in two spots. I had fractures in two spots,
Ugh.
and so I couldn't get comfortable in bed. If I was on my back, the back part of it was hurting like hell. If I was on the
Right.
front, it was hurting like hell. If I was on my side, all the just gravity on its own pushing my
Yeah.
ribs down. Oh my lord, it's terrible. I didn't sleep for like maybe about a week. Like literally not a
Yeah.
single ounce of sleep. Just that like pain, like that pain haze. You have your eyes closed and you're like trying
Yeah.
to meditate to fall asleep. It's horrendous.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. No, that's rough, man. I remember the last time that I broke some ribs, I remember just kind of trying to like, because it was on the front side. Because I remember what happened was whenever I hit the ground, my hand was still like in a fist, as it would be holding the handlebars.
yeah.
And the way that my body landed on my fist,
Excuse
that's
me.
where it like basically broke my ribs. My hand broke my own rib, because that was like,
Oh.
you know what I mean? So it was
Oh.
like all my weight went there. But I remember trying to get out of bed, and I would just kind of slide my legs off the bed, and then just kind of like
Yeah.
slowly slide out into a standing position the best that I could without bending over. It was like, oh man, it was just awful. But
Oh
those are the
yeah.
things, though, they like stick with you. I know whenever that happened to me, the one when I separated my shoulder, it took me like realistically, like when I separated my shoulder, it took me like 6 months to heal, but it took me a couple of years to actually get back to riding without that like calculated fear, like really dominating my thought process, you know?
Yeah, dude, shoulders are tough, man. And I remember you telling me about that. Like, I'm one of those lucky people that, I don't, well, what do they used to call it when you were kids, like double jointed or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a legitimate term, but I'm one of those people that, that if I like with my shoulders, on my shoulders and also with my knees, I can literally dislocate them. Like they can come dislocated, I just pop them back in, and I'm totally fine. Like I've
Interesting.
done it multiple times. Like I've separated my shoulders before, like all of that, like and been like totally fine, like no issues at all.
I think it's because you're 30, dude, or you're less than 30. Just wait till you're in your 40s, man. Shit starts changing, dude.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm just saying. Up until now, it's been like that for me.
Yeah.
So
Whenever I separated my shoulder, the doctor said this to me. He said, think about it like a ball or like a bunch of rubber bands all together. And every time that you had a crash that you landed on your shoulder, it just broke one of those rubber bands.
Yeah.
And he's like, today's crash, it might not have been the worst crash, but it's the last rubber band that you had.
Oh,
you know? And when he said that, it just was like a Rolodex of memories in my head of every time I landed on that shoulder. And it was just like, yeah, I definitely landed on that shoulder a lot of times, and like major times, like motorcycle accidents, like skiing accidents. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh man, how many? Oh yeah, I've done that. Or how many? Oh yeah, you know. So
man,
you got some rubber bands left, dude. Tell me that story again when you're late 40s, bud.
No, I've had my fair share of shoulder injuries. I've just, for whatever reason, I can bounce back pretty quick. I've gotten really lucky over the years, like really, really lucky. So, yeah, man, I just don't want to keep crashing, man. That's the only thing. I think I'm gonna have to start wearing a full face and a neck brace everywhere I go now. You know, that's
You
kind of
think
where it comes
so?
down.
Like, you really think that's your outcome?
I think for when I go to trails that have the potential for me to actually crash and get hurt, I think
Yeah.
probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think I'm gonna do it because I got a neck brace recently, after that crash actually,
Yeah.
and which doesn't really help me much, right, at that
Right.
point. But it didn't fit me, so I think I'm gonna get another one that's a little bit bigger. I'm gonna probably spend some good money and get one of those Liat ones.
Yeah.
One of the nicer, one of the more expensive ones, or I'm sure there's a couple other companies. I'm totally forgetting their names, but
Yeah.
yeah, man, because I live so close to it. I mean, like North Star, I'm 25, 30 minutes away from North Star. So it's like summertime, I get way too comfortable at that park. I could
Yeah.
easily just mess something up, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I do like the idea of wearing a neck brace. Like
Yeah.
as uncomfortable as they may be to wear, I think the tech has gotten so good nowadays where you almost don't even notice it, and they're so
Yeah.
lightweight. It's like it's worth the $400 or whatever they cost nowadays. For
Yeah,
them.
I'll tell
So
you what, man. Every time that I've had a crash that I wasn't wearing some protective gear, I definitely feel differently about wearing that protective gear than I did before. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like those days where you're like, man, I don't want to put on elbow pads. I'll just look like a fucking retard, or
yeah,
like, or whatever word you're supposed to use nowadays. And and and
canceled.
like, yeah, but then you go out there and you shatter your elbow because you fell off of some rock and you just did the natural like movement of falling, and then
Yeah,
all of a sudden you're like, man, I'm okay with looking silly. I should have wore those elbow pads,
yeah,
or the full
dude.
face for that matter. It's like I never wear one because I grew up in a time where you didn't even wear a helmet riding bikes, and
Yeah.
so for me to put on a full face, in my mind, I'm always like, I'll do that whenever I'm riding something serious. But then there's nothing that like breaks the serious zone to me. I'm like,
Maybe you're
it
not
takes
riding
me
good enough
to go
trails.
to, huh?
Maybe you're not riding good enough trails, bro. I think
You know what kind of stuff I ride. I'm definitely riding stuff that warrants it. It's just I'm an idiot, It's like, yeah, like think about I pretty much, along with most people, ride Downeyville with a half lid on.
Mm,
But you're going 30 miles an hour past freaking big ass trees on
yeah.
rocky descents. You know what I mean? Like, is
Yeah.
that really not a spot that you should be wearing a full face? You know?
Well, yeah, but at least with Downeyville, like there is some climbing there. There's some cross country ish,
Yeah,
ness
yeah,
to it, right? But I would say more like in the sense of like if you're doing like actual park, like
yeah,
proper riding, or you're going to go somewhere that's totally new that is going to have downhill trails that
yeah,
there's going to be gaps, there's going to be rocks, that's kind of more along the lines of what I'm kind of saying, but.
yeah,
Yeah, no, you're right, dude. You're right. I found myself doing the same thing. I'm like, I'll just bring the half lid today.
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, I don't even remember the last time I rode with knee pads. Like to be totally
yeah.
honest with you, I don't even know. Like probably maybe like closing weekend at North Star. Probably like I don't
Yeah.
know, months
I
ago.
got
Yeah,
into a habit where I was wearing knee pads and elbow pads all the time for a couple of years.
yeah.
And I had a couple of accidents where I just royally screwed up my elbows,
Hmm.
and not to the point where I broke anything, but
Yeah.
where it was enough that I was thinking to myself, I should probably do something to keep this from happening again.
Yeah.
And I would say in the last couple of months, I've got back to the level of comfort of like where it's been long enough from one of those injuries that I'm like, I don't really need them. So I feel like it's only a matter of time until like one of
Yeah.
those accidents happens again. Because
But
you
dude.
do those big like rock roll type scenarios up in Tahoe, and
Mhm.
you pull the brakes wrong, and all of a sudden you're sliding down that granite, and that stuff's like sandpaper, man. It's
Yeah.
like 1,000 grit, or I don't know, like 50 grit sandpaper. It's just like rips your skin right open, and
Yeah.
oh man, I'm not looking forward to that crap.
Oh, it's gnarly. But dude, I can't do the elbow pads, man. That's a hard no for me.
Yeah,
There's essentially no scenario where an elbow pad is going to be something I use.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to knock you down there, bro, but
Hey man,
I
I get
can't
it, dude. I
I
totally
can't do
get
it,
it.
dude.
Yeah. I
Dude.
will still put them on if it's something that I know that we're going to be riding that's like going to be legit hard, because there's been enough accidents where I've fallen and just like slammed my elbow against the rock that I
Mm,
was on, where it's big boulders that you're rolling, or that type of slab kind of riding. And there's
yeah.
been a couple of times where I've slammed my elbow so freaking hard that even through the pad I
Ooh.
was in a lot of pain. So it's been a few of those where it was like, okay, well, I feel like this is probably a good idea, but
Yeah.
once again,
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes. Well, dude,
Oh
it's
man.
over 2 hours at this point, man. I
Oh
enjoy
really?
it. Oh
Oh
yeah,
man.
dude. Every time
Nice,
we get
man.
together, man, it's so easy to chat, man. I have a
Oh,
great time.
dude, we got to make it happen more often, bro. We got to seriously make it happen. I got to come out, get some more dig days in. I don't know if you've made that public, but I'm not
Yeah,
putting
yeah,
your place on blast. But would love to get some more dig days in, get some more rides in, dude. It'd be good. It'd be a good
yeah,
one,
dude. Whenever you're ready to come down and mess around with McLeod, let me know, dude, because I definitely got a lot of work to do. So
dude. I cannot wait for the next like 500-pound boulder that I move out of the way. Like that's what I'm looking for. Like
there you go.
there you
Right
go.
on, man. Well, hey, dude, it was awesome hanging out with you. I really appreciate you coming on the channel and chatting with me, and all the subscribers out there, the people that are listening for your first time. Thanks for tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, you can hit a thumbs up or a star or whatever. Write a review. If you're on Apple Podcasts, get a 5-star review. That'd be sick. I haven't gone and taken a look lately and seeing if any new ones are written, but it'd be cool to see one with the January 2025 on it. So I
There you go.
appreciate all of you. Remember one thing though, it only takes a bike to be a biker. Get out and be one.
Nice. Peace.